Welcome back. Chapter 34, Charlie. Simon didn't let his inner caveman out to play often, but when he did, watch out. I love the heat in his palm against my back, pressing me into the table, the way he handled my body so confidently, as if he had no doubt that he was going to give me exactly what I wanted, what I needed. And I had no doubt that he would. Simon was everything I needed. I bit the inside of my mouth to keep from moaning his name when he finally pushed inside me. My fingers curled into the tablecloth and I tried to hold on to my sanity and keep my silence. Thrust after thrust, hard, soft, slow, fast, shallow, deep. I couldn't keep up with his pace, couldn't latch on to a pattern, just reveled in the sensations overtaking me. I turned my head toward the window where fireworks burst in the air and trail of red, blue, green, and white sparkled and descended to the dark river. My eyes fluttered shut as my body tensed. Simon reached around me, slipping a hand between my legs. With a press of his thumb to my clit, the orgasm tore through me, and I could see nothing but the burst of color in my mind as I detonated. Okay. Simon, being the southern gentleman, produced the handkerchief from his pockets to clean us up and helped me step back into my underwear. I may not have forgotten my name. I tried for months without success, but I had ugh, epiphany. He needed to know everything. I owed it to him, and then he could make his choice about whether or not he wanted me in his life. I knew what I wanted. I just needed to get him home and lay it all out. The party was winding down after the fireworks display had concluded. We crossed the deck, ready to depart, when Simon's mother flagged us down. She was concerned about his father making his way off the ship by himself. Simon steadied his dad, and we headed down to the private dock where dozens of cameras were flashing just beyond the railing. Cameras flashing. I reached up to touch my face and froze. No mask. Ooh. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway. The volley of questions hit me like a slap in the face. Charlotte, how long have you been in New Orleans? Charlotte, where's the money? Miss Augustin, why aren't you cooperating with the FBI? Oh. It was like I was stumbling down the courthouse steps all over again, determined to outrun the stigma of my name. My stomach knotted, and even in the hot, humid Louisiana night, a cold weight settled over me. A youngish redhead man, apparently with balls of steel, jumped the rail and strode towards us. I knew it was you. I saw you first. I deserve the exclusive. For destroying my carefree, constructed life? He deserved nothing but a silhouette to the ground. Instead of carrying through with my thought, I focused on the obvious, but I couldn't form the right questions. How, how, I don't. Out of the Out in the crowd earlier, I saw you. I didn't even think it was really you at first, so I followed you back to the boat. I spent weeks watching you and your mother come in and out of the courtroom, and then hours studying you on a stand. I was interning at the Post. My boss was covering your dad's trial. He was cool enough to let me tag along for all of it. He paused. It was your eyes first, and then your face. You just don't forget those Augustine's eyes. But, he continued, shouldn't have fucking said anything, but I told my editor I had the story of the year if he let me run with it. Don't know how the rest of these vultures heard. Grapevine, I guess? Get the fuck back before I throw you off this boat, boy. Simon's voice was harsh, promising violence. It had the intended effect. The redhead scuttled back and hopped the fence before an Orleans employee could grab him. Outed by an overzealous, outed by an overzealous intern. It was almost as ridiculous as Al Capone going down for tax evasion. Simon dropped my hand and stared down at me, assessing my every feature with new intensity. Everyone and everything else, the voices, the flashes, fell away. There was nothing but Simon. There was also nothing I could say to fix this. He was a stranger again, the one who met me at the door to his office. His expression was stony, and his hazel eyes gave nothing away as they stripped me bare. I straightened, trying to prepare myself for what I knew was coming. My heart was already cracking. But I brought this on myself. You sure did. I could have told him weeks ago, months ago, but I chose not to. The muscle in his jaws clenched as he reached for a section of my hair. He shook his head and yanked his hand back without touching me. Simon, Why? The quiet word rasped over me and scraped me raw. Why didn't you just tell me? If you think I would have cared, that I would have made a damn bit of a difference, you don't know me at all. Can we not do this here? I begged. He ignored my plea and continued. I would have protected you, hid you away from the world, if that's what you wanted, but you didn't trust me, not even with something as simple as your goddamn name. He paused, inhaling a harsh breath. I thought you coming here tonight meant something, meant that this was finally real, but it was never real, was it? His lips quirked up in a mockery of a smile. Can't have love without trust, Charlotte. His words, punctuated with the use of my real name, were a blade between my ribs. The shaft of pain through my heart stole any response I could muster. Jefferson Dutcherson shoved his way between Simon and me, popping the bubble that had formed around us. He pitched his words low, but they still hit me like an uppercut to the gut. You can't be seen with her. You need to put as much distance between you and her as you possibly can. She'll ruin everything. The words ricocheted through my brain. Ruin everything, ruin everything, ruin everything. And he was right. I owed Simon more than that. Simon turned to his father, and I did what I did best. I ran. Chapter 35. Simon. I flung open the door to Voodoo, eyes searching for the one person I knew I wouldn't find, but I didn't know where else to look. It all happened so damn fast. The press, their questions, the intern, the truth of who she was slamming into me. Charlotte Augustin, person of interest, according to the FBI. Missing former society princess, daughter of the universally hated Alistair Augustin. All of the questions I had for months answered in a single moment. Unfortunately, not by Charlie. Weeks ago, I point blank asked her if she was in trouble, if she was running from someone. Her answer was something along the lines of, not exactly. It seemed our definition of trouble were widely different, but even that I didn't care about. What I cared about was the fact that while I've been trying to process what the fuck I just learned and plasticking, I'm a highlight that one because I can't pronounce it. Let me highlight that. My father, I turned my back for a moment and she'd run. She'd fucking run from me. Maybe my words had been harsh, but Jesus Christ, she needed to cut a guy some slack when he just been blindsided by the fact that a woman he was in love with was living under a false identity. But before I could get a grip on the situation and tell her unequivocally that we deal with this together, she'd run. Because, man. And I already knew she was a damn good at that. If she didn't want to be found, she wouldn't be. As soon as I shepherded my parents past a swarm of reporters and gotten them into the car, I gone on the hunt. I didn't give a damn what her name was. Charlie and I weren't done, and I wasn't letting her run from me, from us. I come up empty at Harriet's. No answer to the buzzer I pressed at least 100 times. I vaguely recalled Charlie mentioning Harriet was going to an art festival up north somewhere over the holiday. I didn't know where Ev lived, so that left Voodoo and Con. I swallowed my pride as I crossed the black and white checkered floor. I slapped my hands down on a graffiti-covered counter and both tattoo guns stopped buzzing. Khan rose and a deep bark echoed from the back. Huck! My heart lodged in my throat, and I headed for the break room. Khan blocked the hallway. She's not here. I don't believe you. Her dog's here. He is, but she's not. Then where the fuck is she? I barely restrained myself from grabbing him by the neck and shaking him. Gone. Where? Just fucking tell me where. My words sounded like a plea. If I had to humble myself to get an answer, I would. From what I heard, you weren't incredibly understanding when it all shook out. And you were? I'm not blind and in love. I knew exactly who she was within a week of laying eyes on her. She told you? The stab of betrayal was swift. No, and she didn't know I knew until she got herself knifed. I squeezed my eyes shut and gripped the back of my neck. The words tasted like ash, but I had to say them. Please, don't jack me around, Khan. I need to find her. Told you, man, she's long gone. Besides, you being with her isn't exactly a winning campaign strategy. There's no campaign. I'm not running. It felt good to say the words aloud. The feeling just reinforced that I made the right decision. Because of her? No, because of me. It might have taken me a while to figure it out, but this is my life. I get one go round and I'm going to fucking live it how I want. And to do that, I need her. The conversation with my father hadn't been pleasant, but it was necessary. It was unlikely he'd be speaking to me for a while. Hell, he might even fire me. But all of that, with time, could be salvaged. What I had with Charlie, I needed to find her before she slipped away again, and this time for good. Khan nodded. You just might do, then. Come on. He strolled down the hallway and pushed open the door of the break room. I followed him because I didn't know what else to do. Huck stood in his crate and barked as we entered. Just seeing him made my chest ache. It would have killed her to leave him behind, and I could have spared her the pain. How'd she get him here? I helped. Khan pulled open a desk drawer and produced the envelope. She left this for you. I ripped it from his hands. Feel free to hang out while you read it. If you still have any questions after, well, I'll tell you what I know. He headed for the door. Dropping to my knees beside Huck, I tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my name scrawled at the top. I devoured her words. Simon, I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I won't ask for it. I'm sure you see now that being with me would have destroyed any chance of the future you planned. I hope I didn't destroy it anyway. That would be even more unforgivable. Believe it or not, I tried to tell you as few lies as possible. Still, there were too many to count. But my feelings for you were probably the most honest thing in my life. I might not have any right to your love, and it might be stolen, but it's mine, and it's precious, and you can't have it back. Considering I'm leaving my heart with you, I'm calling it a fair trade. Yours, Charlie. Oh. I dropped my head against the metal bars of Huck's crate, grateful I was already on my knees. The words were unapologetically Charlie. After reading it 3 more times, I pushed to my feet and turned to the door. Khan was standing there watching me. I should have hated him seeing my lowest moment, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Every thought and emotion was focused on Charlie, finding her, bringing her back to me. Where is she? I would beg if I had to, and if that didn't work, I would beat it out of him. She went to make things right. What the hell does that mean? It's what she said when she tossed a backpack into my tie hole and handed me that letter. I assumed she meant she was going back to New York to turn herself over to the FBI. A solid chunk of ice formed in my gut, and you let her go? Didn't have a choice. You ever try to stop that woman from doing anything? He had a point. I looked at my watch. It was just past 1 o'clock in the morning. I can get a flight out first thing in the morning, or maybe I could charter a private plane and get there sooner. Khan interrupted my thoughts. Taking a wild guess, but you're thinking about how fast you can get to New York. I met his stare. Wouldn't you be? Sure, I want to, but what are you really going to be able to do for her? Hold her hand while she slides the cuffs on? You'd be better served sending her a lawyer than going yourself. Again, he had a point. But I can do both. I wasn't letting her face this by herself. No way in hell. Then Delilah popped her head around the corner and added her 2 cents. I think it's all very white knight of you to want to go and rescue her. But did you ever think that maybe this is something she need to do herself? I mean, you didn't see her when she left. Charlie was determined. She's nobody fool, and she doesn't need anyone holding her purse while she tells the FBI to go to hell. I don't care if all I do is stand behind her so she knows that she's not alone in this anymore. I'm going. Khan smirked. Yeah, you just might do, Duchesson. Wow. I threw random shit in my overnight bag and checked my watch. It's been 4 hours since I last seen Charlie, and it was still 4 hours until my flight. I'd be in New York by 9. I didn't care how long I have to cool my heels on a bench in front of the FBI field office. I'd be there when she showed up. And then I talked some fucking sense into her. She wasn't going within 50 yards of the FBI without a shark of a lawyer at her side and me at her back. My cell buzzed from its perch on the nightstand. I lunged for it, hoping it was Charlie. I looked down at the screen as I answered. Mom? I tensed. A phone call at 3 a.m. from my mother couldn't mean anything good. Mom, is everything okay? It was my father's voice that replied, I need you to come to the house. I ran for the stairs. What happened? There was no answer. He already hung up. I slammed out the door and raced across the lawn. I heard sirens welling in the distance. They were growing louder and louder. Oh, fuck. I ripped open the front door and sprinted up the stairs to my parents' bedroom. My dad was holding my mother against his chest, tears running down his face. He was speaking softly to her unconscious form. Maggie, please, you got to wake up, my love. They were the pleas of a desperate man. I dropped to my knees beside the bed. What happened? I don't know. She woke me up. Her face looked funny, then she passed out. I think it was a stroke. I called 911 and then you. The words tumbled disjointly from his lips. He rocked my mother's still body in his arm. Maggie, please. The sirens blared from the street. I didn't want to leave them, but I knew someone had to let the paramedics in. I'll be right back with help. I clung to the railing as I stumbled down the stairs. The thick jasmine-scented night air clogged my lungs. I focused on the flashing red and white lights. I opened the gate, and gripped the wrought iron with both hands as the ambulance surged up to the front of the house. I pulled myself together, knowing I needed to be my father's strength. I never seen him look so lost and broken. I couldn't lose her too, not my mother. I released my grasp on the metal bars and ran back toward the house to lead the EMT up the stairs. One thing was certain, I wasn't going to New York. Chapter 36, Charlie. 24 hours was a long time to think about all the things you could have done differently, should have done differently. By the time I pulled into the long-term parking at JFK, I was ready to stop replaying all of the moments I could have spoken up and told Simon the truth. I couldn't take back the choices I made, and now I had to live with them. I left the keys in Khan's magnetic case under the back bumper. I wasn't sure if he actually come get it or not, but it was the plan we'd agreed on. I would have offered to return it myself, but I think we both knew I might not be coming back. Harriet was holding on to all of my stuff, but I wasn't holding my breath. My lack of progress with the composition book, along with my strong suspicion about what it contained, made me worry of what I was about to do. But I was running out of options. As much as I wanted to consider the possibilities, I couldn't run forever. I worked my way through the busy station to board a train towards Manhattan. Even though I had been a lifelong New Yorker, this was my very first subway ride. Like my first flight in coach, it wasn't something I was proud of. I could only hope this wouldn't be my last new adventure as a free woman. I made one detour before reboarding the train towards Federal Plaza. I rubbed my sweaty hands against my jeans as I ran through my plan. After what felt like a million stops, I exited the subway carrying only my real license and $100 in cash. It was strange to be back in New York. It smelled different than New Orleans. The people were all rushing around with places to go. No one moved at the leisurely pace to which I become accustomed. I looked down at my outfit. I had dressed up for the occasion. Black skinny jeans and Chucks paired with my vintage Black Sabbath Heaven and Held Tour t-shirt. It reminded me that I'd been duped just like everyone else. It was a subtle proclamation of my innocence. I walked through the metal detector, ignored the curious stares, and ducked into the elevator. On the 23rd floor, I stepped out and stared at the glass doors in front of me. Once I stepped through those doors, my choices would be irrevocable. I squeezed my eyes shut and fought the urge to turn around, get back in the elevator, and keep running. I knew how to disappear. I could do it again. I could start over somewhere else. I pressed my hand against the cool glass. It was time to stop running. I pushed the doors open. At the reception desk, an older woman with silver streaks in her dark hair perched on a chair. She held up a finger and gestured to her headset. I waited until she transferred the call and looked up again. "Can I help you?" Her expression was skeptical as she took in my full sleeves and choice of apparel. "I'd like to see one of the special agents in charge, please." She raised an eyebrow at my request. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm pretty sure I don't need one." She shifted in her chair, looking like she was 5 seconds away from calling security. "Excuse me? My name is Charlotte Augustin. I believe they'd like to speak with me." I sat in a small windowless room with a requisite one-way mirror. For a moment, I wondered who was behind it, but then decided it didn't matter. I would say only what I intended to say, regardless of the questions asked. The door opened and a barrel-chested man in a navy blue suit, white shirt, red striped tie walked in. A second, taller man in a similar uniform followed. The first man held out his hand. "Lou Childers, special agent in charge." I shook his hand and watched his eyes rake over my tattoos. "Those real?" I smiled. "As real as it gets?" He nodded. "You did a good job staying under the radar. You're a tough woman to find." I was just trying to get on with my life. "So, New Orleans?" he asked. It seemed like as good a place as any. "Never been, but Mardi Gras always looked like a fun time." "It is." I put an end to the small talk. "So, you have questions?" "That we do." His entire demeanor shifted. He read me my Miranda rights, and shit got real. Chapter 37. Simon. "What do you mean you can't get in to see her?" I tried to keep my voice low as I paced the hallways of the intensive care wing. A woman in flower print scrubs stared at me as she hurried down the hallway. My attempt at outward calm was failing. "Mr. Dutchison," Andrew Ivor's tone was cool and professional. "Unless Miss Augustin affirmatively requests an attorney, there's nothing I can do. I have a junior associate sitting in the lobby waiting to call me the moment we have any indication that she has exercised her right to counsel. The thought that Charlie hadn't asked for a lawyer made me hope that things weren't as bad as I was imagining. She was smart. I was pretty damn sure if things went sideways, she'd ask for one. Still, Evers had fucked up my well orchestrated plan. You were supposed to stop her from going in alone. I raked a hand through my already disheveled hair. I don't understand what the fuck happened. Evers paused before speaking, as if choosing his words carefully. We sincerely apologize. I had another urgent client matter, and the associate I sent over this morning was detained. He was there by 9 o'clock, but she must have gotten there first. I blew out a frustrated breath. Well, she has to leave sometime, so you better have someone there waiting. I don't care what your associate has to say to them. He better make it a fucking clear to the FBI that your firm represents her and she's not being questioned again without a lawyer present. I'll send a second associate down just to be certain. Just make sure they don't fuck it up again. Hell, after this morning, I expect you to go take care of it yourself. As I said, you have our sincerest apology, Mr. Dutchison. He sounded like his teeth was grinding when he added, I'd be happy to go wait myself. I'll be in touch as soon as we've made contact with Miss Algerston. Ending the call, I sagged against the wall. I bent my knees and slid down the plaster until I sat on the industrial gray linoleum. Resting my elbows on my knees, I dropped my head into my hands. I wasn't sure how much more I could handle. My mother was down the hall in a coma, hooked up to too many beeping machines. The doctors had run all sorts of tests and had shared theories and ideas, but the bottom line, all we could do was wait. I didn't know if I could take another day of sitting across from my father. With each hour that passed without any signs of improvement, he looked more and more like a shell of a man he'd been. My father had always been larger than life, confident, in command, but this experience had exposed him as all too human. For 2 days, I listened to him speak to my mother unconscious form while clutching her hand, and I come to realize that much of my father's strength stemmed from his love for my mother, and without her standing next to him, he was broken. I pushed up off the floor and started back down the hall. I give him another few hours and then I try, once again, to convince him to go home, shower, and get some rest. So far, we've both been terrified to leave her side for more than a few moments at a time, certain that without us there, she'd just slip away. Settling myself back into my chair at my mother's bedside, I listened to my father launch into another trip down memory lane. This time about how angry Mom had been when Dad had laughed after she burned their first dinner as a married couple, and how he told her he'd eat charred meatloaf for the rest of his damn life and smile while it crunched. His quiet words washed over me, and I couldn't help but wonder if I'd have a chance to make those kinds of memories with Charlie. I stared down at my phone, willing it to ring. It didn't. That's the end of chapter 37. Whoa, a whole lot went down in this chapter. It finally came out of who she was. Simon did act accordingly. You can't fault him for that because it's a normal reaction of finding it out the way he found out. And we've been telling you, Charlie, to tell him, girl, but we understand why you didn't. So there was one word that I had a problem with pronouncing. I think I know the definition, but it's really more so the pronunciation of it. So stay tuned for the definition video. Be right back. Okay, and I'm back. The word that I could not pronounce is spelled Placating. So we about to find out what the definition is. 1 second. Oops, spelled it wrong. Okay, let me get it. All right. Okay, this is how it's pronounced.
Placating.
Placating. Let's do that again.
Placating.
Placating. It's an adjective intended to make someone less angry or hostile. Okay. So it's getting there. It's getting into it. So we're going to see what's going to happen in the next chapter because, yeah. So I'm going to have to see y'all in the next chapter. And the next chapter is, what's the next chapter? Chapter 38. So I'm going to see y'all in chapter 38. Bye.